Good morning, beloveds. My head still feels like it's stuffed with cotton. Every day it seems to get a little bit better, but if I cough, then I need to go have a lie down for about 30 minutes. So since we are well covered at work, I said, you know what? I'll call you tomorrow. He told me he can cover me until next Monday if he has to. So I was just like, you know what? Maybe I should take the time and just rest. So I have. I've literally left my house only in the last 5 days, only to feed a friend of mine's cat. That's it. So, occasionally you just need to rest. All right. It is June 16th. Our title is Faith. Our first quote is, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. That is Mark 9:24. Our second quote is, our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of a principle, which of itself is without limit. And that is the Science of Mind text, page 37. 19th century author John Burroughs wrote, "It is always easier to believe than to deny. Our minds are naturally affirmative. Most people want to believe that there is something greater than they are." Oh. Tom? Okay. Most people want to believe that there is something greater than they are. Something that is in charge. When the man brought his son to Jesus to be healed, he was painfully aware that although he believed the master could heal the boy, at the same time, he had some doubt that such a healing was really possible. The experience of doubting is one most of us have had. Perhaps we have done our affirmative prayer and want very strongly to believe that our need will be met. But too often, our doubt causes us to erect an inner barrier to the answer. Our unbelief sets a limit on the results we experience. Ernest Holmes tells us in The Spiritual Universe and You, prayers that are answered are prayers that are affirmative and are accepted by the one praying. We need to know, believe, and accept that once we have offered our prayers in love, the law of mind is acting upon it. God knows no limits. There is no large or small, easy or hard in the universe. Let us remember that with God, all things are possible. I believe my prayers are always heard and always answered. Today, I accept the great and wonderful good I know God desires to bestow upon me. Thank you, God, for my strong, unshakable faith. And that is J.A., which I believe is Jane Anderson. All right. Oh. Hold on. Let me breathe for a minute. The cat just keeps knocking my book is now in 3 pieces and the cat just knocked one of the pieces off twice. Okay. So one of the things that Ernest says is that when you do a treatment, you should never do the same treatment again. Because the second time you treat, what you're treating is your unbelief or the limits of your belief. So once you have treated, then that's it. You want to let go and let God. So then the next time you treat, perhaps whatever it is that you've treated for, you've seen some results or maybe you've seen no results and you're so you want to treat again. But what you don't want to do the same treatment again. What you want to now treat is you want to treat the unbelief. You want to treat whatever it is that's getting between you and the results of your first treatment. And I think that's what Jane Anderson is saying here too. It's like, because that's the first quote, Mark. It's like, Lord, I believe, help me with my unbelief. So it's like, okay, I know what I want and I have lined it out. But now what I need to do is treat the belief that I don't deserve it, that I can't have it, that, whatever it is that is getting between me and whatever it is that I wanted, that's what I want to treat. I want to treat that limit. And so that's what we want to go back. And so every time we do another treatment, we're treating the limit that we've set that's between us and our desire. And so we're not doing the same treatment over again. We are treating the unbelief, which is exactly what that first quote is about. Mark 9:24, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And that's what Ernest is talking about. He's like, look, you know what? The only thing getting in your way is you. Now, I say that. Sometimes it's other people. But if we truly believe that there was nothing between us and our good, then even other people couldn't get in our way. So we are getting in our own way. It is us setting the limits on what we believe we deserve. There is no limit in God. There is no limit in principle. The only limits there are the ones we ourselves set. Now, when I say we ourselves set, I'm also going to remind you that we set the limits, but often we set the limits that we've been taught. Okay. So I don't want you to blame yourself for the limits that you have. I want you to understand that society and religion and culture and other people, and especially people who love you, frequently are the ones who set the limits on us. It's like you go to somebody who loves you and say, I want to do this. And they say, are you sure about that? Well, right there, they've set a limit. Because then they set you to questioning yourself. So, and they do it out of love. Okay? So, all of the things that we have been told, that have created the limits. At some point, we have to go back and look at those limits and go, does this really apply to me? Or have I just believed that it applied to me because I was told by somebody that, and I'm going to use the quotes, air quotes, cares about me. Frequently, we have limits that are set on us that have been set that have nothing to do with us because the person setting them doesn't know us. As a woman, I had that particular thing where, society, culture, and religion have decided that we're the weaker sex. And no, we're the smaller. We're built smaller. But that does not mean that we are any less capable. It just means that we may need to find more creative ways to do it. And it also means that anybody who says you can do it needs to get out of the way of the people who are actually doing it. So, it is about treating the unbelief. Now, the second quote, the one from The Science of Mind, our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of the principle, which of itself is without limit. So, the principle is unlimited. The possibility of the demonstration is unlimited. We are the ones that set the limit. We are the ones who say, I am worth this much. I am valued this much. I deserve this much. Now, where do we get those? Like I told you, we've been taught our limits. So, 19th century author John Burroughs wrote, it is always easier to believe than to deny. I don't know if I agree with him, but all right then. Our minds are naturally affirmative. That's a nice idea. Our minds are naturally affirmative. Most people want to believe that there is something greater than they are, something that is in charge. Okay, that I will agree with. We want to believe that there is something bigger than us. And frequently we want to believe that something's in charge because, sometimes the responsibility gets to be a little bit much. We are a philosophy of personal responsibility. So we are in charge of our life, yet we always have access to divine guidance. So, When the man brought his son to Jesus to be healed, he was painfully aware that although he believed the master could heal the boy, at the same time, he had some doubt as to such a healing was really possible. Yet he believed enough to go. He believed enough to go. And there's all kinds of those stories. There's the Saint Veronica, who believed if she could just touch the hem of Jesus' garment, she would be healed. And she was right. So, and yet there were probably thousands of other people who touched Jesus' garment and they weren't healed because they didn't believe that they could, you know. And there were a variety of reasons of why they didn't believe that would heal them. The experience of doubting is one most of us have had. It is true. It is a true human experience to doubt. And what do we do about it when we doubt? Well, there's a number of things we can do, including treating our doubt. And one thing that we shouldn't do when we doubt, don't go talk to people that will agree with you in your doubt. If you are in doubt, don't go talk to people who will agree with you in your doubt, because they will simply reinforce your doubt. So, perhaps we have done our affirmative prayer and want very strongly to believe that our need will be met. But too often, our doubt causes us to erect an inner barrier to the answer. An inner barrier to the answer. So, just a minute ago, I made a comment about that divine guidance. It's like, okay, we've done the treatment. We are on our way to our goal, desire, need, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, we think, well, am I worthy? Or some variation of that experience. Am I worthy? And then we are creating that inner barrier. So it's like, okay. And then we miss the exit. Our unbelief sets a limit on the results we experience. So maybe we get part the way there, but not all the way there. So then, like I said, we go back and treat our unbelief. We don't redo the treatment. We treat our unbelief. We test our limits. We treat our limits. We recognize that we can be unlimited in God because principle is unlimited. Ernest Holmes tells us in this, okay, so The Spiritual Universe in You. I'm guessing that's another book. If you want to know for sure, you can contact the archives. Go to scienceofmindarchives.org. Kathy is wonderful, and I know you can purchase books through the archive that may not be available anywhere else. So, Ernest Holmes tells us in The Spiritual Universe in You, prayers that are answered are prayers that are affirmative and are accepted by the one praying. Okay? So there's two parts to that. One, the prayer is affirmative. We affirm that this is happening, and we believe that it is happening. We accept it. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big believer in asking for what you want. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you do ask, the answer could be yes. But when we ask God for things that we need, okay, so God already knows all of our needs. Why doesn't God just give it to us? Because we're not always willing to accept it. By asking, we are signaling our willingness to accept, okay? And that's one of the biggest things that I want to get through is in that asking, signaling our willingness to accept. Once we have asked, then we have signaled our willingness to accept it. So don't be afraid to ask, is basically what I'm trying to say. We need to know, believe, and accept that once we have offered our prayers in love, the law of mind is acting upon it. The law of mind is acting upon it, whether or not we are open to seeing the fulfillment. That's where we can continue to do our work. God knows no limits. There is no large or small, easy or hard in the universe. There's no big or little, no easy or hard. Yep, I like that. Let us remember that with God, all things are possible. I believe my prayers are always heard and always answered. Today I accept the great and wonderful good I know God desires to bestow upon me. All right, I want to read that line again. Today I accept the great and wonderful good I know God desires to bestow upon me. Thank you, God, for my strong, unshakable faith. All right, so that's Jane Anderson. Our mission today, should we choose to accept it? Well, actually, let's take that last line. Our mission today, should we choose to accept it? And it says, let us remember that in God things are all with God all things are possible. I think that surprise. The mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to know that in God all things are possible and we are worthy of that possibility. Yep. 2 parts. Because it's nice to know that in God all things are possible. It's another thing to believe that we are worthy of them happening to us. So, how do we know that we're worthy of those things happening to us? Well, one of those ways is to do something loving for ourselves, to do something kind for ourselves, to do something compassionate for ourselves. Okay? It is a spiritual practice. And I say that because we deserve our own love. We deserve our own kindness. We deserve our own compassion. We are beloved children of God, in whom God is well pleased and God is well represented. It goes back to that quote that's, you may be the only Bible somebody ever reads. People will get to know your God through you. Are you a good representation? Well, practice love, practice kindness, practice compassion on yourself. Create that habit, create that response, create that default response, that first response. I was talking to somebody the other day about how the first thing that when something happens, the first thing we think is what we've been taught, and the second thing we think is is who we actually are. So don't beat yourself up about your first response or your first reaction, but why not practice to create the first response of who you actually are? All right. So 3 deep breaths before you speak. Take a nap, take a walk, go hug a tree. Or one of my big things is to actually fully engage all 5 of your senses in doing something that you enjoy. All right. Drinking a cup of coffee and savoring it, or creating a piece of art and really throwing yourself into that process. It is about self-care. It is about self-care. It is about creating a bank of love, compassion, and kindness so that no matter what happens, especially when things happen in your life that are kind of messy and chaotic, you can have that kind response. But it also means that you have enough to share. So it doesn't matter what happens, your first response will be that loving, kind, compassionate response. All right. As always, I also do encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body. I encourage you to drink plenty of water. It is really hot out there. And to get that early morning light to, sorry. I'm not going to do that. Okay, hang on. To get that early morning light to reset all those hormones, you'll feel more awake and sleep better at night when you do that. And open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's all around you all the time. And the best thing we can do is take Emma's advice and look for the good and praise it. I promise you, any situation you are in, there will always be some good. And I can make that promise because if you are in the situation, You bring the good with you. It's right there inside of you. So start there and you can do anything. All right. Since I'm concerned that I'm going to start coughing, I'm going to get through the rest of this pretty quickly. Catch us on the social medias. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I am the running Rev Ryan. I did finally manage to get the Sunday service wrangled, and it is up on YouTube if you want to go watch that. I had extra challenges this week because, it is what, and I had the time to deal with it, so it's okay. And then I'm going to, whatever I was about to say just went out of my head. If you want to know what's going on, because we have a very busy weekend coming up, email info@creativelife.org. That will get you on the Constant Contact. He puts hot links in those, so you can click the hot links and it'll take you directly to wherever you want to go, including our website. And then, have a great day, an amazing day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanting day, a restful day, a release what's left of this day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. As I said, you're a beloved child of God. Always. All right, beloveds. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.